Sponsorships, I like to think about them as building business partnerships. I think that's it's a subtle difference, but it changes things. Sponsorship really implies like you give me money, underwrite expenses, and we say thank you with some logo candy. A business partnership is when you think more about how does this person I'm approaching, their company or their organization, what benefits can I offer them that they can get in return for their investment in my cause? And for us, our event is still very young. Even if the event, you were one of the first that started in 2018, we're still a young baby event. We had 2 years where we weren't really in person. We're just now getting back to full-fledged in-person events where we have some real opportunities for these business partnerships. And even if we were 10, 15 years down the road, starting with who you know, and that 6 degrees of separation and connection makes a really big difference. The biggest thing that I hear that is a pitfall we can fall into is when someone just brainstorms and says, hey, it's a walking event, we should get Nike. And we would like people that have an interest in, they think of something that might be a fit for it, but there's zero connection. And we don't know anybody there, and we don't have any connections there. Your proposal will be one of 20 that lands on somebody's desk for a disease they probably haven't heard of, for an event that's significantly smaller than a lot of ones that are out there. And so while the Holy Grail is that huge sponsor that comes in and says, we're going to sponsor the national campaign, we're going to give you $100,000, we're going to be a huge partner with you for life. That's awesome. We can burn a lot of time and energy without as big of an impact. So sponsors matter, but it's not the be all and end all. Starting with that connection is key. So I always encourage people to start by brainstorming a list. Most people will say to me, I don't know anybody. And then when they pull out a pad of paper and I say, go spend some time and think about it. Think about your neighbor, think about the friend you reconnected with from high school, the people you know from church, the person in your walking club, whatever. All of a sudden they go, oh yeah, this person actually works for this company. And this person, their sister is the president of this company. It's 6 degrees of separation. So if you put in a little intentional thought into it, you can come up with a decent targeted list where you actually have a connection or a connection to a connection. That connection is really key. Don't cold call. Don't cold call. And then when you have your list, you want to begin with a conversation. I think if you wanted to print off 20 sponsor packets and send them in the mail to 20 contacts and then just see what happens, I call that throwing it up against the wall to see what sticks. Nothing's going to stick. It will be a miracle or something. Maybe one thing might stick, but it's going to be pretty slim. So you want to start by reaching out to somebody and leverage the personal connection. So if you don't know someone at XYZ company, but your next door neighbor does, or your partner does, and you say, hey, would you send an email to the person at this company that I'm in, and say, I have a friend, sister, partner that is involved in the FSHD Society. They have an event coming up. I think it's something your company might be interested in. Would you be willing to have a conversation with them? So that by the time, and they hopefully say yes, and then it's a warm transfer to you. That's already going to soften the point of entry. It's way better than cold calling. When you get an opportunity to have a first conversation, the first thing you want to do is ask questions and listen, not hand them a proposal and say, let me tell you all about FSHD and let me tell you all about the benefits of this event. The first thing you want to do is ask them questions, find out about their organization or company. What would they look for in a partner? And then you can tailor your conversation and your follow-up to that conversation. When you're building business partnerships, again, I really think about them as partnerships because we want to, work together. It's about reaching out, set up a time to call, learn what they care about, send the materials as a follow-up, not as the lead. So they know, and then you can reference in your letter, so lovely to talk to you. You mentioned XYZ, so I wanted to highlight these benefits. I think they'll help meet your goals. And you're probably going to have to follow up and then follow up again and again and again. What we have is we've templated some sponsor materials, so you don't have to start from scratch. And that is the link to it. I'll share the materials and share the link. I know you can't click on the Zoom screen, so I'll make sure we share it and share the deck and you can get through to it and I'll show you where it is at the end. And then this is a really important thing. If you're going to try to get sponsors for your event, focus on that for a while. and then move on. Give yourself a window to try and get sponsors to participate. And then you really want to focus on participant and team recruitment. The strength of fundraising and a solid team that comes to the walk, that brings a group of people that fundraise, will be greater than that one sponsorship. There is a lot more power and return on investment when you can cultivate a strong team. And so we're going to have a whole nother training about that, lots of resources and materials about that to help that make more sense and drill into that. But your window for securing sponsors is the next couple of months. Then you really want to move on to taking care of your participants and fostering good relationships and strong team captains. The payoff will be significantly greater. When you get a sponsor, it's good to think of them in terms of a partnership. Here's a great example of relationship turning to a connection, turning to a partnership. So Lexi, who is in the Boston area, can't remember the connection. I think it's her mom or her aunts. I'm sorry if you watch this, Lexi, and I butcher this. They know somebody personally at Optum. They originally sponsored the local event because of a personal connection with, not because they have any affinity to FSHD or anything about it. Then they liked it. Because they came to the event, they deepened that engagement. The next year they sponsored at a bigger level and then started talking to us about a team at their regional locations. Now we just kept deepening the relationship with them. Now they're a national sponsor. They give in 5 digits to the organization. They give a chunk of it to the local chapter. They sponsor the celebration, finish line celebration, on a rooftop building that overlooks the baseball stadium. They cover all the expenses. They also have a team of people that come and fundraise. So it started with one connection that built on that relationship that then became a local sponsor. Local sponsor became a sponsor with the team, grew to regional, grew to national. And it's a slow development of that relationship. And it all started because someone knew someone through a personal connection. Ultimately, I'm going to leave us with this, is that the power of the walk and roll is great. It is our signature fundraising event. It really, I see the walk and roll as a servant to all. It capitalizes on our group effort of coming together and synergizing our efforts so we get a greater lift to our work, a greater lift to our marketing and communications. People like feeling like they're a part of something where we all work together. It gives us an opportunity to engage people in our programs because we have a chance at the start line ceremony or at the finish line to talk to people about all the ways they can plug in. It really does build a broad community. It empowers patients, families, and friends. It tells an important story. And ultimately, I truly believe this, it has limitless fundraising potential. I believe we have only begun to scratch the surface. And I think that the walk and roll can very quickly become $1 million and then a $2 million and then a $3 million event. This picture here, the Band of Buyers, is a perfect example of that growth potential. That is one team in Minnesota. It's all because Jacob said, I've been sitting around waiting for somebody else to do something. I think I'll do the walk. He kind of wasn't entirely sure what he was doing that first year by his admission. He did an amazing job. This team was so excited to know that something was happening. The entire family all came and rallied around one person, and they just had an amazing event because they all said, I happened to be there, and they all talked about how they were so thrilled to finally have something to do to help their loved one who has FSHD. And it meant so much to them. It wasn't a burden. It wasn't an overreach. It wasn't a struggle. They loved it. And I think that's the opportunity. Those are the folks we're looking for. We don't want and I think those opportunities are all out there. One of the ways that we talked about overcoming and staying out of the fear zone is being more informed. And I touched on this, but I'll make sure that you guys get the deck. Volunteer resources page. All of this information is on the volunteer resources page. Anything that's in the Google, if you want to get to the Google Drive, you want to get to an event submission form, you're not sure how to reach your regional director or somebody else on the team. If it's not on that page, let me know, but that should be your point of entry for all the stuff that you need. The Volunteer Leaders Facebook page, it's a group. We don't put a ton of posts in there. It's not going to muck up your feed forever, but it is an opportunity. There are some good folks that are active on there to just post a question, share something, and get some wisdom of the group. The volunteer leaders on Microsoft Teams. We know that we need to give some better training on how to access that, but everyone's been added to a team. If you download the Microsoft Teams app to your phone or to your computer, then you can click on this link and get in, and then you will see you'll see everything that has to offer. There's a calendar of all of our events. There's a chat screen. There's a link to the Google Drive with all the files, and there's a link to everything can be all there. We haven't shifted the trainings and other things to there yet because not everyone's comfortable getting in. So that's going to be the next thing we have to tackle, is making that more accessible to everybody. We strongly encourage you, if you are one that has an FSHD Society email, please, please, please use it. That is the primary point. That's the primary way in which we communicate with you. It is, and a lot, I know when I was a regional director, and I know Heidi, Anna, and we have a new one that's starting today, started Monday, Ashley, who's fabulous. It is extremely hard when you are managing relationships with 20 and 30 and 50 volunteers to remember, well, this one prefers text, and this one prefers a personal email, and this one uses this email, and this one prefers that. It's just really, really hard for a very small staff to remember that. So if you have an FSHD Society email, that should always be your first point of communication. It really helps us help you. If you don't and you want one, if you're just a walk leader, we can set you up with one so all your communications could streamline through that. Once a month, Beth does a week hot sheet. That is just a quick and dirty summary of all the important links and information. It'll always remind you where to go to get important stuff. It's not it's not like you're going to go, ooh, I'm going to pour over this and read it. It's just a hit list of important stuff. It will always be called hot sheet. So if it's in your email, you can just search hot sheet and they'll come up. It's just meant to be a quick, easy reference point for you. New this year, we've started putting out a quarterly in the know doc. You can get to that from the volunteer resources page. And it's just 3 things. It will never be more than 3 that are say, here's are the primary things that we are focused on that we want you to know about this month. And it's big ticket items like that this next quarter, I need to work on it, but we're launching a clinical trial education program, or here's what's happening with these 2 clinical trials. It's like big bucket items that are helpful for you to know, to share with the community, and talk about where the money goes is part of it. That's not the only intention, but it's one of the side effects of that. Jack Gerblick, who is on the board of directors, who is the chair of our community development committee on the board, and who is a fellow volunteer person with FSHD. He checks all the boxes, and he's totally awesome human. He set up these first Monday of every month 2 options. You can pick one or the other, and it's literally no agenda, and there's no staff. So if you're like, I don't know what that Lee Reinhardt was thinking on that. Lee Reinhardt, that's my maiden name. Lee Reynolds was thinking on that call. But that was lame. Like, you tell Jack and he'll come to me and fix it or whatever. It won't tell me who said it. Or if you want to brag on us, or you want to say, we could really use this XYZ thing. That's what that call is for. No pressure, no agenda, and no staff. It's just for you guys to talk to each other. Hop in when you want to, don't if you don't need to. And then lastly, just check in often with your regional director. That is your conduit for all things. They are your Sherpa, your supporter, your mentor, your coach, your everything. I cannot tell you how many times I had volunteers, and they still say, I'm so sorry to bother you, but that's why we're here. You are never, ever bothering us. So lean in to the regional director and the rest of the team. And that's it. It is 8 o'clock. We ended right on time.
Yay.
Okay, I have one comment.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just want to say thank you very much. You did a brilliant job as usual. You're concise, clear, very informative, and very helpful, and I appreciate it.
Thank you, Cheryl. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. I can't believe you gave up an hour of your vacation for being here. That speaks to your dedication, and possibly the fact that you just wanted to rub it in our faces, that you have that. I can see those gorgeous palm trees in the reflection. It's so pretty.
Yeah. Well, off to margarita and a dinner.
Absolutely. I might go downstairs and make one myself. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks a lot, Lee.
Thanks, Lee.
Absolutely.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.